it's hard when it's time to come back. But on the flip side, that's the thing that's supposed to light a fire up under you to make something happen. What up? What's happening? Que lo que mi gente? Welcome to Love, Purpose, and Passports. Hope all is well and all the passport ready. A passport getting ready. For those of you that don't know, I am Mr. Pro for you, living in Santo Domingo, Dominican Republic, with this beautiful long-distance relationship love of mine this week. Miss Pro for you.
Saludos a todos.
So how you doing today, Miss Pro?
I am doing so good. Thank you for asking. How are you, mi amor?
I'm doing great. I'm telling you, every time I look over there and I just, you know what I'm saying? I just mug so much when I'm sitting here by myself. Yeah, it's just, a whole different energy, you know what I'm saying? But what I will say today, you're going to love this episode.
Mm-hmm. A lot of fun.
We're about to talk about these long distance relationships. And you know why? We kind of start flexing, you know what I'm saying? We talk about these long distance relationships because we are long distance relationship experts. We are pro hair for you.
We are pro hair for you.
Pro sourcing for you.
We are pro sourcing for you.
I think we pro lingua for you, but we also pro interpreters for you.
We are. Mm-hmm.
But you know what else we are? Pro long distance relationship for you.
We are.
Isn't it funny when you hear people trying to talk about long distance relationship like they've been doing this thing?
Yeah, I hear them and I'm like, oh, that's so cute. You were long distance for 6 months. Oh, you're adorable.
Getting old in that thing.
Like, do this.
I'm telling you.
That's so cute.
Man.
But we're very proud of them, though. We're very, very happy that long distance relationships is becoming more and more common. Because now more and more people are coming to us to talk about it. When before there weren't as many, and now we're like overwhelmed with the conversations that we have with people about long distance relationships.
We are. And, the thing is, at first, we really didn't like talking about long distance relationships that much, because we even though we do this, we still like private people.
Yeah.
This YouTube thing was something new to us. Putting ourselves out there to the world,
mm-hmm.
For the world to see. And I just had a talk with her one day and I was like, look, we got to own this, this long distance relationship thing. We did this for 7 years, and it was like, it had its trials and its tribulations, but us being on this side of it now, see, when you see us laughing, you see us joking, you see us doing this, we've done our time. We did a bid. We may have a long distance relationship number somewhere out there. You know what I mean? We've been doing this.
Okay.
Yeah, but we done it. We're on this side of it. And like she said, people, they do consultations with us when they want to talk about long distance relationships. And we're always glad to share. Mm-hmm. It's just that a lot of times we still hold this close. But we knew it was time to share it again because we did a video on this like maybe 2 years ago. Right. And it was like, you know what? For the new subscribers, people that might have missed it back then, the channel was we still a small channel back then. Mm-hmm. We were kind of like an infant channel. Mm-hmm. And so, we figured, let's talk about it again. So today's topic, 5 things you need to know about long distance relationships. Mm-hmm. And like I said, these are the things you absolutely need to know. We're going to give it to you. So beautiful lady of mine, what's the first thing they need to know about this long distance relationship?
The very first thing that you need to know is that no one is going to believe in your relationship. And I say that loud and strong. No one will believe in your relationship.
No one. Mm-hmm. But here's where they're going to trick you. Everybody's going to believe. At first, everybody's going to be your friend. They're going to be proud of you. Mm-hmm. You know what I mean? I started off, I have my phone, I'm with the homies like, yeah, look at this, little fine, little, exotic thing I got, legs from here to there, you sure like, look, they look like, yeah. So we video chatting or whatever, we talking. You know how we do it, fellas. You know how we do it. You know, we keep that phone moving around like, look. So, you know, you show it to them. They're like, hola, you know, she's talking, you know, they talking to her. Mm-hmm. I'm showing them to her while we talking, showing them in the background. They look, what they say? Hola.
Yeah, for some strange reason, all of his friends only thought that I knew how to say the word hola.
Yeah, because they don't speak Spanish. So they would think she's only speaking Spanish.
Well, and it wasn't even that they would say hola. They would say, hola, and look into the screen with this long, drawn out, I'm like.
That's how we do it. Hola. Like, bruh, she speak sir. English.
Nice to meet you.
And what they say after that? Hola. You know what I'm saying? They just, you know, they wouldn't say that. That's all they would say. But needless to say, it was all good. They were happy about it. The thing is, over time, when the relationship begins to get serious, you know what I'm saying? And you're not really moving with them the same, they begin to look at you like, you still, you know, you still doing that with that right there. Like, man, you know that little fun, you know, ain't, you know what I'm saying? Come on, man, you know what I'm saying? Kick with the homie, man, you know. You're doing something different, you know what I mean? And so after a while, then they start to look at you a certain way. And it's gonna happen. Everybody's gonna begin to look at you a certain way. But the thing is, this is the same thing they do with local relationships if you think about it. You know, everybody's all happy for you until you really stop moving around with them like you used to. You know, and then they begin to look like, oh, yeah, you know, you got to go with her. Or, yeah, you talking to her. Or you doing all that. So basically, you know, it's peer pressure. You know, it's going to be peer pressure from your loved ones, peer pressure from your closest friends, peer pressure from anybody you pretty much like mention it to, you know, after they've been seeing you, that you've been doing this past the introduction time, you know what I'm saying?
And it's not just on the man side. It's on the female side too. I remember that I was at I don't know if it was one of those like a happy hour Friday or something. And I met one of my friends and she was with her boyfriend. And so the three of us are sitting down and we're talking and we're catching up because I hadn't seen them in a long time. It was like, you know, an after work thing. And she's asking me, so what's up with you? You know, how are you doing? And I go, well, I'm still, you know, talking to the American guy. And she's like, you are? And then I start going on and on about him. And, you know, we still this. And, you know, I kind of tell her how in love I am. And I'm just talking and I'm smiling and I'm laughing. And I didn't realize that they were looking at me like this. Because I'm talking and I'm just, you know, expressing how happy I felt. And I just noticed that they were looking at me like, okay. And it made me feel like bad about something so sweet because I know that everyone was thinking, oh, amor de lejos, amor de pendejo. That's what they say here. If you have like a long distance relationship, you're a fool or something like that. And that's what everyone, you know, kind of thought in the back of their mind. So I just stopped talking about it. You know, I just stopped talking about our relationship to people because no one really, they didn't get it.
Yeah, they're not in it with you. You know what I mean? And the thing is, if you notice, the people that are saying that are never like experts at regular relationships. You know, they just talk. This is the thing that people gravitate to. And you look and it's like, I mean, it's not like you know, the local relationship guru. You know, this is something people say.
Local relationship guru, yeah.
Yeah, you know, and here's the thing, like even now, in some of these social media spaces, be careful because they're not going to give you any good feedback. You know, they're not going to give you any encouragement except for like the encouragement of like, all right, man, I'm telling you, you can do it, bud, man. You know, something like that. It's always kind of, you know, this underlying, you know, like it's a joke or like, you know, they either feel sorry for you or you know, you're about to get took for the, you know, for a ride, you know, just something. It's always some underlying thing. But here's the thing. And this is why, you know, we decided to share it. We've done it. And we did it for a long time. And it was a long time.
Many years.
Yeah. And so, look, we always laugh when we say that. Wow. It's kind of like a madman's laugh because you know, we were just doing it. But you got to remember, like, the relationship goes through phases. So, you know, there's going to come a time where it gets more serious than it was. It may start off, you guys are just liking each other. And then it'll get to a point where, you know, it grows.
Yeah.
And as it grows, people are not going to understand it. But they never understand it. This is your relationship. How do they know? They have their own relationships to be concerned about. So be aware. When I say peer pressure, that's the key word. Be aware of that, because they are not going to share the proper information with you on how to do it when this is something that you're looking for. Don't look for a whole lot of encouragement. You can come to Love, Purpose, and Passports for encouragement.
Yeah.
I mean, because like I say, you see us laughing and you see us joking, you see us doing the videos. We're actually on the other side of it. We made it.
Yeah.
And so what would it look like? We made it. And then we look at other people trying to make it like it's a joke, or we try to keep it a secret. No, we did it. You know, we can say it with our chests.
Yes.
We did that. And so don't worry about what other people believe, because other people are not going to believe in any kind of relationship that you have anyway, because the majority of people fail at relationships.
I was just going to say, you know, when you talk to someone about being in a long distance relationship, they immediately start telling you all the horror stories that they heard in all the social media, internet. They talk about people that they never met, stories that don't even sound true. You know, everyone would tell me that he had another family and he had a bunch of children. And
I was already married, probably, and all kind of stuff.
Yeah. So, you know, all the stories were crazy. You're wasting your time believing in this. And how do you know? And, you know, and nobody really understood how much time we actually spent with each other together, but long distance, you know?
Exactly.
So nobody really understands it. And it's incredible how before someone even tries to get into a long distance relationship or considers it, they're already turned off to the idea because of all the negative stuff that's out there. You know, they never even have the opportunity to get into a chance to get into like a good relationship, because they're always afraid of what might happen because it happened to them 25 years ago. And, you know,
this one guy tried this and it didn't work, and I'll never do it. Look, especially these days, I mean, men really afraid of stuff now for some reason, but they've been fed this junk. And here's the thing. The people that are telling you this, they mean well. You know what I'm saying? They mean well. There are some people that the people that speak the loudest are the biggest failures at relationships.
Or have the biggest fears too.
Yeah, but they're afraid because of their failures.
Yeah.
You know, because one relationship doesn't work, it's like, oh my God, you know what I'm saying? Nothing will ever work.
Nothing ever again.
Yeah. I mean, you know, I had this thing I used to say, you know, like every relationship is the wrong relationship until it's the right one.
Yeah.
That doesn't mean like, oh, you know, like you still crush from high school, if that's the case.
We see that on social media a lot. We'll see like women complain about, you know, I got into a bad relationship when I was in high school and I'll never do that ever again. I'm like, so what are you going to, you're just going to not date ever for the rest of your life? Like, you can't really live life with fear. You can't have like a fear-based attitude to go through life at all. You'll never enjoy life. You'll never enjoy love. You'll never do anything fun or sweet or progress in life. You can't have like a fear-based mentality. Yeah,
you got 2 baby daddies or 2 baby mamas, and now you scared. Come on now. Too late now. What you saving it for?
Oh my God, this poor self.
Yeah, but I'm just telling you, like, people be talking so much mess, and we hear it, you know, and really, it's funny because, like I said, they mean well, but what experience do you have with long distance relationships?
Yeah.
Were you were in one? How many regular relationships have you been in that no longer exist?
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
You know, and the thing is, yeah, you're trying to do something that's different, but going to another country or dating someone from another country is different. The whole experience is different. Mm-hmm. A relationship blossoming into a good relationship is different. That's not the average thing. So I've said this before about you're doing something that's above average. So anytime you're trying to do something that's above average, the majority of people are not going to understand that anyway.
Right.
because majority of people are just doing average things. They're doing the regular thing. They're doing the easy thing. And the thing is, good relationships, whether they're local or whether they are long distance, they're valuable.
Yeah.
Things of value cost more. And things of value require, not only do they cost more, but they require more sacrifice. And so we have some more points because we mess around and go on and on about this. They're not going to believe it because it's just crazy. But if you think about it, this is your relationship. Who are they to believe or not believe? Who cares what they believe in? People believe in all kind of crazy stuff.
Really, and get into the habit of taking advice from people that have actually gone through what you're trying to go through and have been successful with it. Don't take advice from people that only have like crazy horror stories if you want to accomplish something. Learn from people's mistakes. Be wise.
But don't only learn from mistakes.
Right. Use discernment, but also get the same information from people who have done the right things.
You want to learn from successes or mistakes.
Right.
You learn a little from you learn a little from mistakes. You can learn a lot from your own mistakes, but learn from other people's successes. And that's why we're here to talk about it. You know, because I think this is one of the, this is one of the only places you can come to get long distance relationship support or advice or anything, because we've done it. You know, we it's under our belt. And so even though people didn't believe it, here we are. They're looking at us now like, they don't remember that. They don't remember this journey like that. So, beautiful lady of mine, what is number 2?
Number 2 is something that we have always done that has been successful for us. And that is to make time for each other every day.
And it's going to be successful for you as well. You got to make time for each other.
Yeah.
You can't just find time right quick. You know, let me go holler at her right quick and keep it moving. You know what I'm saying? Let me go holler right quick. I mean, sometimes you do have to holler right quick, but you should be talking like every day. You're already not there in each other's presence, but you know, on this video chat, you are in their presence, you know, and so you got to talk, and the communication that you have between each other is going to be so valuable as you go, because you're building a foundation. And without building that foundation, now you're just kind of floating, and then you'll be wondering why the relationship's not going nowhere. And that is one of the keys. And it also puts you guys like on a schedule.
Yeah. You
know, where you're talking, you know what I mean? And you're sitting there, and I don't mean like for 10 minutes, like we used to talk for what, hours?
Sometimes we would fall asleep on the phone.
That was back in the good old days.
I know. Yeah, we would speak to each other in the mornings and during breaks and lunchtime. And then, you know, when we would get home from work, and we basically spoke to each other throughout the day, all day. So
yeah, she said we used to fall asleep talking to each other. I said that was the good old days. So we fall asleep talking to each other now. It's still the good old days. We do be watching the fella novellas though. You know what I'm saying? That's our good old days talk. Really, you know what I'm saying? We be talking about that. You know what I'm saying? It's old now. Look, we enjoying it. Look, we graduated to this point. We deserve this.
You know, and it shouldn't be like a hassle to make time for each other every day. You should want to spend time with each other every day, you know? And it's a good idea to have that communication. Okay, well, we can do it this time, and let's meet at this time. And it's fun. You know, we would set specific times to go on like little dates with each other, virtual dates with each other. And it was great. I would look forward to it all the time. You know, I couldn't wait to get home to talk to him. Yeah. She's
going to tell me how the day went, and we're just going to talk. And, you know, again, like I said, you're building the foundation, you know, and so it's a must. You got to communicate. It can't be like, oh, well, I'm going to holler at her every 2 days. Because if you go talk every 2 days, well, you're going to get what that gets. And I'm not saying that, you know, some nefarious things are going to happen. But all I'm saying is it builds that connection.
Yeah.
You know, like she said, you want to talk to each other. That's part of your day. That's like regular, you know, part of the day. You sit there and holler.
I'm laughing because he knew all the work gossip. I would always tell him, mi amor, let me tell you what just happened, or let me tell you what I just saw. So when I would go home, we'd be like, so what happened with such and such? How did that end? I mean, we always had something fun or funny to
she'll try to tell me stuff now when we driving, like, oh yeah, but back when I was at such and such, this, I'm like, I remember this, and this happened.
He does. That's right.
She tried to tell me stuff like, oh yeah, that was, back, 5 years ago when I was here, or, 8 years ago when I was at such. Yeah, I know. I remember exactly. I remember the people, everything.
Yeah.
To talk about it, but that's the thing. That's what you're supposed to do. You're talking about your life, you know what I mean? And so, you're talking about what's going on in life at that time, right then. So, we talked about so many different things, and that's part of the getting to know each other process anyway. And so make sure you make time to talk. Don't skip days. Mm-hmm. And I'm not saying making it like a regimen, you know what I'm saying? Like she said, you're supposed to want to talk to each other. It's not supposed to be like, oh man, I need to go talk.
Yeah.
If you do need to do that at first, then do it. But I don't know why that would be a problem. But sometimes you may here's the thing. In the beginning, you may take it for granted. You may not think about the importance of it if you're not really used to doing that, but you're doing the things to take up the space between you. You know what I mean? To bring it back closer, since you're not in each other's presence. Like if we sitting around here for an hour and we ain't say a word to each other, which never happens, but but we don't have to like fill it up with so many words. Like, you know what I'm saying? Like when when you're on FaceTime or something with each other, you're jibber jabbering. But at that phase, you should be jibber jabbering because you're just learning.
And I was gonna say it's actually. Sorry, remember I interrupted. I want to say it's actually easier now because that there are a lot of people who might have language challenges, right? And I remember back then the translation apps were very, very basic. Mm-hmm. Now the translations apps are a lot more advanced. You can talk into it, and then it'll in real time tell the person, and you can download all sorts of applications and have conversations with people. That it's just a lot easier to communicate with people now, than it was a couple years ago. So
yeah, it is a lot easier. Mm-hmm. I mean, technology's moving forward.
Yeah,
it's making this whole thing. The whole world is closer together now. So, I wrote this video. I did this video like a long time ago, and it didn't do well. But it was about normalizing long distance relationships, and maybe I'll do that video again. But you got to start normalizing it because you're taking these trips. If you're thinking about a long distance relationship or considering it, or that means you're taking these trips. Mm-hmm. It's gonna happen. Unless you're just gonna be on the other side. You know what I mean? You're on the other side. I don't even know why you're watching, but you might be watching just trying to figure out. So it's just to hate or something. But help yourself. We need the views.
Okay.
So make time for each other. Mm-hmm. You're gonna enjoy it. You're gonna get to know each other. And here's the thing about making time for each other every day. Somehow the conversation came up about the chemistry that me and my wife have, and it comes from that. We sitting here. Like, it looked like we can see ourselves on the screen right now. It looked like, it's like video chat. We talking, you know what I mean? And back and forth, but we interact with each other for so many years, you know what I mean? And been doing this and all those hours and hours and hours of talking to each other. We're comfortable with each other. And that's what brings that. So, beautiful lady of mine, I'm enjoying this right here. It's like we don't really talk about long distance relationships that much, but then when we start talking about it, it's like fun because this is our experience. Exactly. So we're talking about how we did this and how you gonna do it because you're gonna do it. Mm-hmm. So beautiful lady of mine, what is number 3?
Number 3, it won't be easy. It will not be an easy, breezy thing to accomplish.
Yeah. Don't let all this laughing fool you.
Yeah.
We laughing now because we're not doing it no more.
Mm-hmm. Right.
Look, it's worth it. But here's the thing. No relationship's easy. Mm-hmm. You see what I'm saying? And so you can be... I always compare this to local relationships because for some reason, there's the long distance connected to it, there's a mental part that kind of, makes you look at it in a different way.
Yeah.
Don't look at it in a different way. This is your relationship. You're in real time. And it's going to get hard, but when it gets hard, don't blame it on the long distance part.
Right.
You're missing the physical part at times. You know, you're going to make that trip. You know what I'm saying? You're going to get physical. You know what I'm saying? You're going to read all that physicality is about to, you know, come out. We just showed you the Cabana video on the way home from the airport. Get a little something off your chest. You know what I'm saying? You're going to be all right. Mm-hmm. And so, no.
It's not going to be easy. Because remember, not only do you have this intense feeling of wanting to be with someone next to them, and you want to experience life with them, because that's another thing too. I enjoy just, you know, not only doing the fun things that you see us do on video, but I enjoy just being in the kitchen, cooking, and my husband kind of around me, and we're talking and we're laughing, and we're, you know, I missed all of those things. I wanted to do all of those things. I had that desire to be with my sweetheart, and it was very hard for me to go every single day kind of waiting and hoping, and, you know, so that part is not going to be easy. But what helped was my husband, the way he handled the whole situation. You know, it would have never, if he wouldn't have handled it that way, we would have never made it out around the way we did. You know, he just consistently kept telling me, you know, these are our plans. This is where we're going. We started here. We're going to go here. Right now we're at this phase. And I always saw like a progression of when we were going to get to where we were going to get to. And that reassured me. And, you know, it kind of reassured the both of us and reassured him. And it kept us on track of things, you know, and just the way he led the whole situation made it easier. It wasn't easy, but it made it easier.
Right. It wasn't easy. And here's the thing, like, again, I get back to things of value. Things of value don't come easy.
No.
You know, it's the things that aren't worth much that are very easy. You know, and so we got love for the homies that be rolling with us. Shout out to the supporters of the channel.
Mil gracias.
Antonio Denmark.
El señor Antonio Denmark. Mil gracias, señor. Thank you.
Daniel Vincent.
El señor Daniel Vincent. Daniel Vicente.
Hey.
Gracias.
And we got one of the OG supporters of the channel.
Be with us forever.
From back in the days. Behold.
Señor. Behold. Gracias.
And we got the supporter of supporters of the channel.
Supporter of supporters.
Victory's up in here.
Victor.
We appreciate you. We love y'all. Thank you for supporting the channel.
We got love.
Hey.
The homies that be following us.
Back to the video. Fellas, you know, you're going to have to, I talk about leading more than I used to, but even in that phase, this is your relationship that you want. You know, you're the one flew out the country and, you know, found you a little fine, you know what I'm saying?
And she's gonna need that reassurance. She's gonna need it.
Yeah, she is. And so, again, when you get to rocky roads, don't blame it on the long distance relationship. Remember, this is the same thing that happens in regular relationships. You're gonna hit rocky roads. You know why? Because you have to build the relationship. Building is work. And so, just like we said that, you know, this is real time. Don't get caught up in looking too far ahead to the future. You know what I'm saying? Because your relationship is today if you're in a relationship. And so enjoy yourselves. You know, if you, whatever you're going through that day, you're going through it together.
Yeah.
Because even though you don't have the physical energy is not there, but you have the emotional energy. You still have the intellectual energy. You still have the spiritual energy, And so I've said this before that, a relationship isn't held by physical alone. Because if you're missing these other energies, and you only have the physical energy, that's a dead relationship.
Yeah.
Because that's just not how relationships work. So if you remember that, you have all these other things that you're building, you're building your foundation with. You're building a relationship with everything else that's important.
Yeah.
That's what creates that bond. And so even though it won't get easy, even the little struggles that you're having are part of the relationship. There's nothing abnormal about having a struggle in your relationship. There's nothing abnormal about having ups and downs in the relationship. And so, but the thing is, it's your mindset. Don't get caught up in that. Well, it's because it's the long distance. Now, if you're dealing with some other things if you're dealing with the same things that would break up a local relationship, that's different.
Yeah.
But having a hard time, missing each other, and fellas, she's going to be a little more emotionally vulnerable to this than you are. So you got to be mindful of that. Mm-hmm. And you got to always be the light in this. You got to always be the strength in this. You see what I'm saying? You got to always remind her why y'all doing this. And don't be saying it soft.
Nope.
We doing this, right?
Mm-hmm. Hi, my baby. He was so sweet to me. I remember when he would come and visit. And he would come and visit for, a long weekend or something. And the last day, that day that he was leaving, was the worst, saddest, most pitiful day in the year or for whatever time we were together. It was just a horrible experience thinking that he was leaving again. And I would cry and cry and cry. And it was just terrible. He would be like, don't worry. And it's going to be okay. And he'll crack a joke. And he'll kind of bring me back around, but it really wasn't easy.
You know what I called it? I called it a funeral procession for the living.
Oh, it was so sad.
We'll be driving down 27 to Las Americas, and we driving so slow.
The slowest. People behind us would just be mad and honking the horn. They're like, what is that?
Yep. And here's the crazy part. It's always the same. When you wake up on that last day, we try to go into the matrix. You know what I'm saying? We could just sit still and, and time would stand still. But look, we were sitting there till it's time to finally get up and pack that suitcase. Mm-hmm. Start packing that suitcase up. And I'm watching her and she's just kind of walking around a little stiffer, you know what I'm saying? Kind of you can tell it's kind of like she kind of holding her breath a little bit. And then she finally just break down. You know what I'm saying?
It was miserable.
Yeah.
Oh, it was terrible.
Yep. And that's it. All the way to the airport. Mm-hmm. You know what I'm saying? So we get there, and here's a part of sad, because she can't walk to the counter with you when you got to go and check in. She got to stay back there behind the rope and all that. And you got to go by yourself, and you look in, and it's like, man, it's it. Then you go up there, and they say, your flight's been delayed. Look back. She don't know. Hey, she don't know what I'm looking at yet. You know what I'm saying? Look back and go back there. The flight's been delayed. It's on. We happy for another 3 hours. You know what I'm saying? And so
that happened a few times.
Yeah.
And whenever that would happen, we'd be like, we have a couple more hours. Vámonos. And we'd leave and we go to Boca Chica around there or something and get something to drink and I get something to eat and just extend the trip as much as we could.
Yep. Go back. And so, and
then go back and cry all over again.
It's hard when it's time to come back. But on the flip side, that's the thing that's supposed to light a fire up under you to make something happen. Because you're we just can't keep doing this. You know what I'm saying? It's it's the best feeling when you step off that plane. But when it's time to go back, you got to go through this funeral service again. You know what I mean? So that's the thing that should also motivate you to make something happen, whether, you know, she's going to move or you going to move. And, you know, you just start putting your plans together, because one thing, like, my cousin is the one that introduced me to the island. He says, you know what, cousin, when we get there, you see this right here, boy, you go, you know, you get that hustle right, boy, they make that hustle pick up. Now, my hustle was already right, but I know what he meant. You know what I'm saying? You're going to really just, you know what I'm saying, start really getting busy and everything. So it was he was right. He was right. You know, because it's not a normal thing just to keep these trips going. I mean, you know, it's Dominicans that don't travel here as much as we do.
He would say that he would work with a bunch of Dominican men, and when he would talk with them about the island and say, well, when was the last time you were there? They'd be like, oh, it's been years, you know.
Yeah, 10 years, and I haven't been back in 5 years. And even sometimes we go in the bodega. I've been saying the Comada, you know, in New York, it's the bodegas. Mm-hmm. You go up in a bodega or something, and, you know, it's a couple of Dominican homies working in there. We talk to them, and, you know, ask when's the last time they've been. You know what I'm saying? They like, man, 3 years ago. 3 years ago, man. We were there 3 months ago. You know, 3 weeks ago.
Yeah.
But it's you're doing something above average making these trips happen. Mm-hmm. Because you kicked in a different gear once you've experienced it. But as you get deeper into this relationship, you're going to kick into another gear, you know, and you're going to make something happen. Because at first, I mean, when we first got together, I wasn't planning on moving here. You know, it wasn't I was planning on moving and not planning on moving. It just wasn't on my radar. You know, we met, you know, and then things went from there.
Right.
Here I am. Posted up in this little phone. Yeah. You're going to make it happen. So all of this is connected to number 3, which is it's not going to be easy, but just remember, things of value aren't easy. Life isn't easy. Mm-hmm. Your life shouldn't lean on what's easy and what's not.
Right. Getting
in shape is not easy. None of the things that really are of value are easy. So don't worry about something being, you know, don't think about something in terms of easy and hard. You know, this just is what it is. Just think about it like that. It is what it is. You building a relationship, that's something that it comes with its own challenges no matter what, because you're building it. Building is working. Mm-hmm. So beautiful lady of mine, we still talking.
We are, aren't we?
So we forgot to tell you, this is going to be a short video. So beautiful lady of mine, what is number 4?
Number 4 is do what you have to do to make it work.
Got to do what you got to do to make it work. Yep. Everybody's situation is different, but you got to get in your bag and make it happen. You know, we were talking about this before, that there are people that have been doing this. There's some people who are in the military. There's some people who are, you know, work out of the state or out of the country, right? There are people here that live like that, right?
It surprised him when I told him how many people actually live that way. Like, there'll be families that live here and the husband will live in the United States. Like, he'll be a trucker, or he'll do like that long distance truck haul, long distance. And that's very common here. And then they'll come home every couple of months, and the whole family, and then they'll just live that way. They don't want to not live here, but they would like to earn the American dollars to support their family. So that happens a lot, believe it or not.
Right.
You know, so that's very common. He was very surprised when he got here, and, you know, he saw how many other families are being raised that way.
Do what you got to do. Everybody doesn't have the same kind of job that's going to allow them to be able to just take off finally. You know what I'm saying? To not go back to it. Or, you know, everybody's not going to have a job. You know, at first you're going to be working on vacations to get here.
Yeah.
But then you're going to be like, I need to get there more. You're going to figure out another way. Like we said, don't start thinking like there aren't other people doing this.
Yeah.
There are people doing this.
More common than you think.
It is. And so that's just the part about trying to get here. But let's talk about how you sustain yourself. What kind of things were we doing? Let's just say, what kind of creative things were we doing to make this thing happen?
We had lots of fun. We would have, sometimes we would play online games together. Like, I think there was this one thing called Words with Friends back then.
Back in the
days. And we would always play with each other, and he would always beat me, and it was terrible.
I'm supposed to beat her.
I downloaded an app to cheat, and he won the app. So I never won.
The app.
I never won, but we used to play those online games too. And I think that there was another online game. I don't remember the name, but it was like where the game was that we were like authors, and we were writing a book together.
I remember that.
And he would put a part, and then I would put a part. And all his parts were like, they were either violent, or someone was fighting, or something happened, and mine had like zombies in it, and it never coordinated, but we wrote a book together. So
yep.
They didn't make any sense, but we did it.
We've been doing this so long. It's apps that came and went, we did it. And, the apps, that's why we can't remember the names of them. They lasted for a little while. It's funny, but the funny thing, like I said, these were the apps that we could do things together. And that's why we said, like, now it's so much easier now to be able to connect with each other and do things together. Back then, it wasn't so many.
I'm pretty proud of this generation. They have more fun things to do. They can be more creative than we were, which is pretty cool. But I mean, we were creative though. Okay,
we were creative.
We had cool video nights. And do you remember we used to use the app? We use a lot of apps. Like, we had like Facebook, we had like Skype, and I think before Skype we had like Uvu. Remember Uvu?
Mm-hmm, that
was our. Of course, he remembers Uvu. What I didn't know is while we were Uvuing, which was like a video chat application. While we were Uvuing, someone was hitting the Uvu record button in our conversations, and later on he'd be like, "Hey, do you remember the conversation we had the other day?" I go, "Yeah," and then he'd throw me the video and show me the video that he recorded. It was
especially the favorite part. Well, that's what I found out. Hey, I always say funniest home video myself when I started standing up with them little short. See, when you first start messing with that, you didn't know it'd be hot here, so they'd be wearing them little house shorts. Those are you know how they got house shoes? They got house shorts.
Oh,
they be wearing. She stood. I had that thing recorded. She stood up. I was like, oh,
oh no. He made himself a meme back then. Before
I meme myself.
Before memes.
I meme myself. I still have that too. I meme myself.
Yeah, it was a little strange, but now I think it's super sweet because we can like see ourselves, and we were like all in love. And we were talking to each other. He was so sweet. Mi amor, I'm being romantic. He was so sweet, and I love my baby. Mi amor, please. Well, we used to do video date nights, and it was really nice.
Well, I wasn't finished talking about the shorts part.
Oh my God.
So here's the thing about the shorts. Remember we were talking about you got to talk every day? Once you get to see those, and you're like, okay, yeah, this is going to, it motivates you to talk.
You were motivated to talk to me because of shorts?
Once you see short, you're like, oh yeah, I got to jump back on this thing. Mañana.
Oh my God. Well, I was trying to talk about having a romantic video date night. Remember we used to get dressed up?
Oh yeah, we used to have our date night. We're gonna have a date night. Give me some Kiki. I'm a tequila drinker. She'll have a little wine or something. We get dressed up, have us a little date night. And I put a little R&B on. I put a little Jodeci on. Get to singing a little Jodeci. Get the night right. As we sipping. Getting it. And so it's like
so romantic.
You make it happen. Get creative. There's all kind of things, and it's just the good thing about the date night. You know what I'm saying? You singing that Jodeci, then you have a little bit of FaceTime after dark.
I can't believe you just said that.
You know what I'm saying?
I can't believe you just said that.
What you gotta do. I always need a reason to clean that phone screen.
Well, I don't even have anything to add to that or like to say or.
So we would do like movie night.
We would do movie night. That was super fun.
We used to have the raggedy bootleg movie links.
We did.
Back then, wasn't no Netflixing.
No, we didn't have anything like that. We used to have those fake little links that had all of the weird apps.
Bootleg links and chill.
Bootleg links. Oh, that's so funny.
Bootleg links and chill. Yep.
And we would get a good movie on and we kind of like watch it together or whatever.
Yep. We would watch it. We would watch the bootleg. And see, here's the thing. She had her laptop. I had my laptop, and we go to the bootleg link, and we would sit there. So when we'd be watching the movie, we would be texting each other while we're doing it. So, we gotta push play at the same time. So, I'll type 3, 2, 1, play. We go. And we start watching. Now we texting each other and kind of watch it, laughing and just, back and forth while we watching it. Then, that DR internet wasn't as good as it is now back then.
No,
and
mine was terrible.
Mess up.
And then I text and be like, mi amor, stop the movie.
Pause.
Whatever, pause. My internet is doing a little circle right now. It's not doing anything.
Stop, back up, wait for a minute while she's getting it together. She's typing me, it's still buffered, it's still loading. Maybe if I sit here for a second and let it load and run. So you let it load. Then we get ready to start. What number are you at?
I'm at 00135. Go to 00135, and then you have to go back to 00135, and then you're like, okay, ready? 1, 2, go! And then we have to go at the same time. And
we watch it again. The good old days.
I see, mi amor.
Internet wasn't no good. Wasn't no Netflix yet.
And we were texting back and forth and laughing about it, and it was.
We made it happen. Do what you gotta do to make this thing work.
Night.
It's just so much easier now. We got a video. We talking about the new things, electronics you can do to make this thing happen. We had some special electronics in that video. If you need to see that, just go back and look. We'll have to re-release that thing. But look, all in all, that's what got us here. We had to do it the Stone Age way. We were striking stones together to make fire. But we made it happen.
The good old days, mi amor.
We made it happen. So, look, it's up to you. Make it happen, man. Get creative. Think of the ways that you can, keep this thing interesting. Because if you both into it, you're going to both be into it.
And you do whatever you have to do to make it work.
Whatever you have to do. I'm saying, make it to that. FaceTime after dark. Woo! So, beautiful lady of mine. We've been back down memory lane, back when we was doing this right here. Now we get to watch them do it. Ooh, that's gonna be fun watching y'all from here. No, it's gonna be fun, So, beautiful lady of mine, what's number 5?
Be determined.
Be determined. This is, fellas. You're going to have to be determined. You're both going to have to be determined. Sure. But you're going to be the one leading the determination. As you can see, I say stuff kind of strong, you know what I mean? And that's just me, but that's how I move. Determination requires strength. And so you're going to have to look at this, like I said, her emotions are going to affect her more than yours are. So you're going to have to be that optimistic person in this at all times. In the manosphere, they had this thing called maintain frame. You're going to have to maintain frame in this relationship, in this long distance relationship, as you guys are going through the phases. See, it's not, and the thing is, there are phases. So it's not like you're just going to be, Iron Man from the beginning all the way through, because the relationship isn't going to be as heavy at first as it is as it goes. Yeah. Because you're building it. Yeah. You know what I mean? By the time you get to the real committed relationship phase where you guys been doing this, you're going to be on the same page. So now it's about providing that optimism, that plan, and staying focused, because if you start wavering, she going to start wavering. Yeah. Because like I said, you leading this. You're in this because you wanted this. Act like it. You know what I mean? And stay strong about it. It's your opportunity to, ride for this. This is your relationship. And like I said, don't think that it doesn't count. It's all real time, and it's all real valuable time. That long distance relationship built us a foundation that other people don't have, because they didn't go through it. sometimes I always say this, about people, you don't know who they are until you go through something with them. And even though, look, we didn't know how long this relationship was going to go that long,
right?
But it was a relationship. So it was a relationship that was still going. It's not like, oh my God, the 7-year relationship went for 7 years. The longest relationship went for 7 years. No, the relationship went for 7 years. You see how that works? Our cards were dealt to us. You see what I'm saying? So the cards that were dealt to us, we played them. You know what I mean? We did it. So it's not like sometimes you put too much into it and you psych yourself out, because it is a mental thing. That's why you have to stay strong mentally.
Right.
This is the relationship you wanted. This is the person you said was special to you. This is the person you said you want to build something with. So you are building something. So on those, and you're building your foundation. Again, that's why, like, if you see us laughing, you see us joking, you won't know we've been together this long. Some of y'all, I don't know how long y'all think we've been together, but I met her in 2012. You know what I'm saying? We didn't just start this, but we're able to still laugh and, enjoy each other and have that energy because of that.
Yeah.
You know what I'm saying? Like, some of y'all ain't been through nothing yet who've been together.
Nope.
So even though it was hard, we were kind of blessed to go through something with each other first.
I completely consider it a blessing. And before, it was we would keep it quiet. We never really spoke about it. But now, we talk about it and people are like, wow, that was wonderful. I can't believe what you guys did. And it's really strange to hear that now, because when we were going through it, we didn't get that at all.
No.
Had we not been as determined as we were, we would have never made it to where we're at now.
No.
So being determined is super important.
That's why we are like this, because we appreciate making it to this side.
Yeah.
Yeah. Yeah. We still playing around. We still like silly on stuff and still doing all that. Mm-hmm. Man, look, we already went through the wilderness. You know what I'm saying? So now we here appreciating what we have.
Oh, what a blessing.
Yeah. And so you can do this. Stop listening to people who don't know any. Listen, they don't know any better. You understand? And so if they don't know any better, they don't take what they saying, serious. They telling you can't do this.
Right.
The hell they mean? Because they didn't do it. They ain't even do it.
Right.
People were together and didn't do a long distance relationship. That, if you haven't done it, you can, everybody's entitled to their opinion. But we speaking facts to you right now. If nobody had done it, then yeah, that would be, but right. Again, people feel the same way about you traveling to another country. What are they doing? They going and doing it. They feel all kind of ugly ways about you traveling to another country.
I've noticed. I've noticed that people generally have something negative to say about being in a relationship, period.
Exactly.
Lately.
No, yeah, it's crazy.
Yeah, lately I've noticed that you really don't hear a lot of people talking about the beauty of being a family, the beauty of being married. No one really talks about that anymore.
No.
Even some married people don't really talk about it, and they should. You know?
Yeah. You know why? It's because the negative people have been given a voice, and there's so many of them talking so loud and stuff. And here's the thing: like, if there are no people encouraging you about relationships, and there are no people teaching you about relationships, and there are no people teaching you how to have a relationship, how is the relationship supposed to work anyway?
Exactly.
People are going into relationships and they're not even prepared. Exactly. Because all they've been getting is negative feedback for the last 30 years or so, 40 years, about relationships not working. And then for those of us whose relationship are working, it's like, we don't really, it's like we don't really hold as much weight because the other voice is so loud. And That's what I was going to say. this is kind of like a little bit of a bonus that I wanted to add that we didn't talk about last time we did this video. And that's, I mentioned it earlier about these social media spaces. You have so many people poisoning the idea about relationships that it's going to be much harder for you guys than it was even 2 years ago. Because 2 years ago, there wasn't that problem in the social media spaces. That people in relationships were still celebrated a little bit, you know, but for some reason it's at this point where, you know, and what it is it's I know what it is. A lot of these debauchery bros and pill poppers have entered the space, and some of them are angry. Yeah, some of them are angry, and some of them are only here for timeshare type experiences. And so not only that, because people are entitled to do what they want to do, but they smear the relationship bros. The guys who really want to have a relationship kind of have to, it's almost like you don't want to say anything because you know people are going to talk crazy about it. You know what I mean? And like I say, there's always been, we talked about people not believing in the relationship, but now there's something different. There's a different air out there about, you know, putting down relationships and putting down people in relationships. And it's all people that failed at relationships. And it's all people that, you know, don't have what it takes to be in a relationship. What do you expect to do with a good mate if you're not a good mate? You understand? Like, and so you really have to be more careful now with your mental space than you used to have to be. Because even when I met her, there wasn't all this YouTube out there. You know, I didn't come here because I was a passport bro and I was, you know, angry at anything. I just found out about it and was like, oh yeah, I'm doing it. I was oppressed and didn't know it. You know what I'm saying? I was like, yeah, I'm here. But, you know, we used to be happy back then. You know what I'm saying? It was like, oh, now you talking about, you know, finding, you know, Miss Right or something. And it's like, they're looking at you like, bruh.
Are you supposed to just not find anyone ever? Is that the end game?
They don't even know they're being led off a cliff because, and I say this because a man is meant to have someone that's his. You can't just keep running around here sharing women. How long are you gonna do that? And the thing is, it's not so much that guys are choosing this other lifestyle. It's that you're putting down this lifestyle. So the guys that, you know, that are looking for relationships or would like to have a relationship or are better cut out to be in relationships are kind of being, you know, downgraded. You know, they look down on us and talk bad about you. So you really you don't have that camaraderie being in a relationship. But here's the good thing about that. Look, your relationship is you and that other person. I don't care what they say. I don't care what nobody says. So, but that's the attitude you're supposed to have anyway, because that's what gets you through. This is supposed to be like us against the world, right?
Right.
We rolled on that. It's us against the world.
So cool.
So even though you don't have that camaraderie, it's just hearing all that there's so much more anti-relationship noise out there that can affect you if you let your mind get weak and let your mind follow failures at relationships. If you let your mind, you know, who cares if you had one long distance relationship and it didn't work? What that mean? Nothing. That means that wasn't the right person. It only matters if you wasn't the right person. See what I'm saying? And so don't be listening to people that's not the right person giving you advice about this. You know, that's part of being determined. Determined is when you hear everybody else doing one thing, you're like, nah, I'm not doing that. I'm taking me and mine through this. We gonna make it.
That's also part of being a leader.
Yeah. And it's part of maturing.
Yeah.
And it's a manosphere out there. You talking about being a man. That's being a man. Going down your path with who's with you. It's not just gonna be smooth sailing, but it ain't supposed to be. Nothing is smooth sailing. You're gonna have smooth moments. But you can make this happen. And we here for you. You know what I'm saying? Holla at us, shoot us an email, or whatever, and we can discuss it with you, because it's ridiculous already. Love, Purpose, and Passports is here for, this is what we do, and it's really it's incredible how, like, in the last couple of years, how crazy it's really gotten with just the idea of being in a relationship. What did relationships do to you? It did something to a few people. Some people lost a lot. I understand them being upset. Not you, though. You ain't lose a lot. You know what I'm saying? And here's the thing. What you gonna lose now? You ain't gonna lose nothing. Because we ain't even say nothing about getting married. We said something about a relationship. What you gonna lose? You don't lose nothing. So, it's like getting caught up in someone's you're getting caught up in someone's sermon when you listen to that stuff, and it doesn't even apply to you. We got you, you know what I'm saying? Come through. Anything else, beautiful lady of mine?
Very well said.
So we wound down on that serious note about being determined. That's what's going to take you to the promised land. You need that, but you need, all 5. We hope you were able to, take notes. If not, hit rewind. But we got to always tell you, we always tell you at the end, and we always say we're going to tell you at the beginning. Like and subscribe. Love, Purpose, and Passports. Love, Purpose, and Long Distance Relationships.
We are Love, Purpose, and Long Distance Relationship.
Peace.